Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson, and we're going to continue our study. This time we're talking about angles. Angles. All right, so let's get into our vocabulary. Types of angles we should know. Acute is an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Obtuse is an angle that's between 90 and 180 degrees. Right angle is an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. And we have a straight angle, which is an angle which measures exactly 180 degrees. There are a few other angles we should talk about. The reflexive angle is the angle between 180 and 360 degrees. The circle measures exactly 360 degrees, sometimes called unit circle. Semicircle is half of a circle's measure, which is half of 360, which equals 180 degrees. So I have a few games there, but we'll play them another time. Adjacent angles are two angles with a side in common. So here we have two lines. They intersect at the point here in the middle, and they form four angles. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the labels. And I notice angle 1 and angle 2. These are on the same side, and it's cut right here by this blue line. They're sharing this side in common, so this side would be shared with angle 2 as well as being shared with angle 1, the blue line. So that's what we mean by adjacent. There are other angles that are adjacent, like 2 and 3. They're sharing this green side here. So angle 2 and angle 3 would be adjacent. So 3 and 4, 4 and 1. So the adjacent angle are two angles with the side in common. Supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. I had a student, Jasmine, who taught us a nice trick to remember how to differentiate one from the other. And let me get a pen. She said, just by connecting the first letter. So if I draw a little connection, connecting the first letter of C in complementary, that gives me a 9 and a 0. A letter O next to it, that reminds me of the 90. And again, she said, use that same trick with connecting the first letter, an S, supplementary. The S, when we connect it, looks like an 8, and that should remind you of the 180. So thank you, Jasmine, for that nice trick. So complementary are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So let's play this thing, and hopefully it'll move. Well, it's not moving, so I'll have to move it. We're taking one angle here, and we're going to move it in place here. So that's one angle. We're covering up this right angle, and I want you to see how the side being shared in red and green, it's sharing this side right here. So we're taking a right angle and cutting it into two parts. And they're both acute angles, so less than 90 degrees, to add up to a 90-degree right angle. So that's what we mean by complementary. Two angles have to add up to a 90-degree angle. So that's what we mean when it shares a common side, but they're two angles. Supplementary are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So we have our straight line here, which is 180 degrees. If we were to cut it into two pieces, here'd be one piece. If I cut it right down here, here's the other piece, and it's being cut there. So you can see this side is being shared along for this angle and that angle. So we have two angles. Basically, one is obtuse and one is acute. So that's usually the way it looks, but you never know, so be careful. So supplementary are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So here's a little test for yourself. Find the complement of 64-degree angle. So here we have this angle down here, and we'll read it as STP, or if you want to follow the letters, TPS. It's 64 degrees. We want to find the complement. Now, complement, we should know that little trick Jasmine told us to do. We just get our pen and connect the first letter, and that C connects to a 9, and there's a 0, so that means this has got to be 90 degrees when I add it up together. So I have 90 degrees is what my sum is supposed to be equal to. So far I got 64, and I got to add together to some other angle to equal to 90 degrees. So what I'll do is I'll take a shortcut. Instead of adding, I'll subtract. 90 minus 64 degrees, that'll equal the other angle, and that'll give me my answer. So that looks like my answer for this angle, the complement, will be, I believe, 26 degrees. So 26 degrees. And if I check it by adding 26 and 64, that adds up to 90 degrees. So 90 minus 64 is 26. So if you got that, you're in good shape. Remember that trick Jasmine told us, connecting the first letter. That helps you get the answer quick. All right, here's a question for you to try at your spare time. Find the measure of the supplement. Supplement is just like supplementary. It's just talking about the other angle. So the key word is supplement of the 60-degree angle. So find the measure of the supplement of the 60-degree angle. So hopefully you can know what that's supposed to add up to. Connect your letters. Here's a good question. Find the value of x. Wow, we got a lot of things going on here. So we got a 54 degree, we got a 2x here, and a 4x there. Here we got a line, we got a ray, here we got a line going this way, RP going down that way. So how do we find it? Well, I know that we have adjacent sides here, adjacent angles. So 54 and 2x would be adjacent angle. They're sharing this side right here. But this line right here is being shared and cutting in between here. So I have another angle that's cutting this line RP. So my line RP is being cut into a few pieces here. So let's take a look. Let me grab a pen and notice this. Let's get red. So here it's being cut into pieces, 3 pieces. This line is being cut into 54 degrees and a 2x and a 4x. So since the line is 180 degrees, then if I did not cut this part and this part, I would have my whole line, which is 180 degrees. So why don't I do a little bit of reverse cutting and get rid of the part that was cut. So I had 180 degrees, and if I put back the 54 that they cut out. So I'm going to take that away to see what's left for these two guys. So 180 minus 54, I believe that gives me 126, right? 80 minus 54 gives me, 126. So I got 126. And now that's between this guy and this guy. Now he's a 2x and he's a 4x. So I know he has 54 degrees out of the 180, and he has 2x and he has 4x. So let me combine them. 2x plus 4x and that's going to equal to 126, because that's what's left for these two guys. Well, 2x plus 4x is 6x, and that equals 126. So now all I have to do is solve this equation for x. Well, if I divide both sides by 6, x will equal to, looks like 21. So x is equal to 21, which is what they wanted us to solve this for. So we found the value of x, and we can even put back in place of 2x, 2 times 21, and see what that gives us for this angle. That'll equal to 42. So this angle here is 42 degrees, and this one we can find by multiplying 21 times 4, but I want to do a little quick thing here. I notice this is 54 and this is 42. If you remember, I took 180 away, the 54 from 180, and that left me with 126. So if I add these two up, let's see what they add up to. 54 plus 42, that adds up to 96. So to find this one, I know I can multiply 4 times 21, but why don't I just take 180 and subtract 96? All right, so 180 minus 96 gives me 84. So this angle's got to be 84. That's one way of checking it, but I can now do 4 times 21, which is what the x value we found. 4 times 21, guess what that equals to? 84. So I do know that this angle is equal to 84. So I checked it by doing it a different way to know that I'm sure, and I can check the whole thing by adding 54, 42, and 84. That should add up to 180, which is the straight line. But let's not lose point of the question. They wanted us to find the value of x, so x is equal to 21. So there's what we were asked to find. And there's our work, where you can make an equation, 4x plus 2x plus 54. All of that adds up to 180 because it is a straight angle being cut by 2 parts, 2 rays there. And I added my 4x plus 2x, gave me the 6x plus 54 equals 180. Subtract 54 from both sides. 6x equals 126, and divide by 6, x equals 21. Nice question. So that was a whole lot. Check your understanding. Rewind the tape if you need to. If you're uncertain, write down your questions. I'll be glad to answer them. So next time we come, you're going to be looking at questions like these. What type of lines are these? So I hope you got something out of it. Next time, I'll be a little bit more brief with the work. So bring your questions in. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye.